Hello. Good morning. Thank you for all coming out at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. I really thought I'd be talking to an empty room. I wanted to talk a little bit about, photo reality and how that's starting to, become a real thing in, immersive devices. And I've started a new company based on that we've called Dejavu. The name of the company works on two levels. This is about my fourth or fifth AR startup now, so it definitely feels like I'm doing the same thing, over and over again. But really, we wanted to, explore the idea of, can a virtual place or a virtual copy of a real place, feel real enough that you get that emotional reaction to, oh my God, I've been here before. It feels familiar. It feels real. And although we're not there yet, I don't think anyone's there yet, we're certainly getting to a point now where that's sort of within reach, or you can kind of see that it's going to be possible, soon. If we go forward. Nope. Oh, there we go. So a little bit about why, how I came to this, problem or opportunity, as you think about it, is, like I said, it's about my third or fourth AR startup. Before this, I had a company called 6D.ai. And 6D was a company that was based on how do you wave your phone around, capture a 3D scan of the world, and gradually kind of crowdsource all those scans into a 3D map of the world or 3D model. And that worked out pretty well. It's sort of now inside Niantic, inside the Lightship developer platform, and that idea of the AR cloud that 6D was working on has sort of been taken up, and all of the major platforms are kind of running with that, that idea that if you need a, realistic 3D map of the world for AR content to really start to, behave appropriately inside the world. But one of the things that we learned at 6D that we could never really accomplish was that as we were, talking to customers, either consumers, game developers, particularly Airbnb, who are one of our biggest customers, and we're talking to them about, look, you can do a scan, you can put it online, you can tell people this is what the real thing's like, was that there was just this expectation from consumers that they wanted photoreal. They said, if you said that a virtual copy of this chair, if you tried to tell them, look, that's the real chair, you can buy it on Amazon or you can use it in an app or something, people just expected it to look perfect. And that just wasn't possible, 4 or 5 years ago. For a bunch of reasons, partly hardware, partly displays, partly, software algorithms. And we just kind of left it there. And so I spent a couple of years, just having fun, and then started to see the takeoff in some new technologies around NeRFs or Gaussian splats and all these new AI-driven representations of 3D scenes. And that kind of got me excited. I started to think this is sort of all possible, might be possible again. So I started talking to people I knew in the space and pulled together a very small team of engineers with backgrounds in 3D rendering. Some of them had worked on the Metal team at Apple. Others had sort of been the creators of Play Canvas, on the web. And we started to think about how can we apply some of these new ideas to 3D representations of things. But the real and what we found was they look great on Twitter. These little captures, if anyone's seen them. But when you put them in a headset, they didn't look great. And that was kind of the case until the Vision Pro came along, and it really changed the game. And it's hopefully everyone's had a chance to try it. But it's definitely shown, it's like the first device of now a whole wave of devices that are coming early next year with similar sort of specs to this. And it showed that if you could put high enough resolution, high enough pixel density displays in front of your eyes, you got the potential to render a scene that was, to the eye, photoreal. And but there was a problem with that, and it was that the mobile chips, low power mobile chips that were driving these displays, couldn't really run this type of image at 90 frames per second in stereo at full resolution. And it needed a rethink of the software pipelines that were being used. because to get this type of scene, you really are driving a display that's got more pixels, than an IMAX movie. It's way beyond a 4K video game that needs like a high-end PC with a GPU to run it. And you end up having to basically deploy like visual effects studios, visual effects pipelines, like cinema scale, software pipelines to get this type of quality of a scene that the hardware was capable of driving. And so that was, felt like, the entrepreneur in me felt like this was like a commercial opportunity. Like, how do we apply some tech to kind of reduce the effort, the cost, everything, to keep that same quality and sort of make it available to everybody now, not just sort of these, in-house things that Apple was, spending a lot to build. So, talking to, some of the companies that built these stuff, they were huge projects. They were like 6 months plus of work with teams of 5 to 10, 20 people working on them. They took ages, they took high-end tools, they took custom software that was being developed, but the experience was amazing. And I think one of the things that I was personally surprised at, that Apple recognized, and they leaned into this, and I know I wouldn't have, is that doing something really simple from a user experience point of view that looks amazing ended up being a really compelling user experience. I know from speaking personally, when I first tried the Vision Pro, I was blown away by the screens, and I was really excited about all the hand gestures and the ability to like interact with 3D stuff and do this mixed reality content in the world and all this sort of advanced ideas I'd been mulling over for like a decade. But then I'd put it on my friends. I'd put it on people who weren't in this industry, and they were just like, oh my God, it's beautiful. Like I just want to sit on the moon and sit here for 20 minutes and look around. And I'd be standing behind them sort of scratching my head going like, this is nothing. You're just kind of looking around. But that was enough, and that investment in quality really, surprised me in how powerful it was in terms of, engaging those people that have never tried this type of device before. So that was encouraging to me. It was a bit of a wake-up call for me, as a founder. But it definitely reinforced that doing a simple thing at very high quality, if it could be done, was really the place to start with these, these new products. So this was exciting me. It's kind of a bit of validation for the sort of idea I'd been thinking about. And, again, just trying the device over and over, I just saw that simple look around type experience was enough. All these different system environments were there. People would spend a ton of time on them. Apple obviously took them seriously to build them in at the operating system level of the device. This wasn't some app that was buried down in the App Store. These were very much front and center of what was there. And if anyone hasn't tried a Vision Pro, really do it and get the difference between something like a video game or something, even like a video game on a high-end headset, and this type of environment that is, it's not just a film. It is something that's like you've got 6 degrees of freedom, you can lean forward, backwards, sideways, and the sense of presence, the quality of the experiences really is subjectively different. So what we believe is that these type of visuals, this type of connection to virtual places is, this is kind of the first device of many that are coming. One thing I've, seen, in sort of my talks with potential partners is pretty much every other OEM that's out there, like everyone that is making a headset today has got a headset in the works that is the similar hardware spec to what Apple's got. Probably at least half the price, probably nowhere near as good a software, but they're all looking for ways of, how do we now show off our hardware to the maximum capability because, they've seen the difference that this sort of stuff makes. And again, one of the things that was, I think, unintuitive to people who were just looking around, but, we realized was kind of exciting, was that you could take an environment that was fully immersive, fully wrapped around, and just using some simple stenciling of that that scene, you could sort of change the the purpose of it. So in this case, you can kind of see in the corner, you can dial back and see a bit of the real world around you. But you can go even further than that and have it like that Disney scene where you can make fantastical worlds to watch content. And then pull it back even further where they've drawn a little stencil around the bottom and you start to get like an IMAX movie type effect. So it goes from being just like an immersive wallpaper to now it's a piece of content that you can look at. And it's kind of indistinguishable from watching a video, except that you've still got that sixed off kind of movement around and it feels different. It's sort of that first taste of what immersive media is going to one day become. And again, Apple showed us taking even further. You get to that point now where content can come outside of the screen. And so that's kind of exciting. Like to me, this is something that I wanted to, I guess, bet the next phase of my career, the next sort of 5 years or so of thinking that this is going to be the trend. Everything we learned at 6D was that, it needs to be photoreal, otherwise people just won't, people see it as a toy. They'll see it as a game console, something like that. So this is what we're doing. The big problem, like commercially, is like these environments. Like I don't know particularly the cost of this Mount Hood scene, but I know that I've got friends at VFX companies that they've done some work for Apple, but they've also bid on other similar projects for other OEMs, and they're telling me that these scenes are 2 million at the low end to like 10 million at the high end. It's just crazy expensive. This is not the sort of thing, there's no way today to just wave your phone around, even wave a high-end camera around and sort of automatically generate something this high quality. But that's where the world's headed. And that's long-term what Dejavu is going to be building out and betting on. I think there's a big potential to take some of the approaches that we did at 6D, some of the new things around nerfs and splats, some of the new high-end hardware that's coming, and really drive this cost down to like from millions down to like 250, 100K, get it to within the range of like a real estate agency, an ad agency, a game studio, and you don't have to be, a $1 trillion OEM hiring, visual effects teams to work on this stuff. So it's coming. These trends are all kind of converging at the moment, and I think it's kind of the right time to start leaning into it. And although it's not, if someone here's got some idea that they want to make a photoreal environment around, we can't do it for 100. We can do it for like $1 million today. But we think in a few years, we're just going to see that cost drop way, way down. And it's the future. So one other thing we learned, like this was a little bit, disappointing to me, I guess, or a reality check to me, was when we looked at nerfs and splats, which is kind of where everyone's excited about today. What we learned was that they have a kind of ceiling in their fidelity, in that by definition, a splat is basically a point cloud, a capture of a place where each point has some like extra visual data, associated with it. It's kind of splattered, it's kind of smeared around. So when you step back from those, they go, oh my God, it looks perfect. But when you get close to them, you see all that smearing and they start to look a bit off. And so what happens is to get rid of that smearing, you need more points and smaller splats, and then more points and smaller splats, until eventually you've just got too many points to render, and you get to the point that it can't work on a headset. And that sort of trade-off ends up biting you, and you need some different approach to think about how do you draw these scenes that isn't just a straight-up native splat. And that's kind of how I thought it would be easy. I thought it'd be just like rebuild 6D but use nerfs and splats, but realized that no, you can't get to this quality, that I was talking about before. So it still does take a little bit of work. It takes a bit of fusing multiple approaches together, but you can get something that looks pretty incredible. And so what we've done at Dejavu is we're still figuring out what to call it. This company's like only a few months old. We got our demo ready yesterday, about 5 p.m. So anyone who wants to see it live can come and grab me today. But it's we're calling it an engine, but we can do the whole creation pipeline for you. You can come to us from scratch, and we have really no upper resolution limit. And Avi, I haven't updated the 14K thing, but a friend pointed out, called me out on, or he saw that number was kind of the 14K is kind of a made-up number. People who have worked with, these sort of headsets, you realize that you might have like 4K per eye, then those displays will probably overlap a little bit, so some of those pixels are redundant, and then you've got foveated rendering, which will render some of them higher quality, some of lower quality, and then the scene itself is much bigger than the displays. It can wrap around you. So the size of the scene is kind of a made-up number, but the point is, when you're looking at a regular monitor that you can go to 4K, you can go to 8K, to get to a stereoscopic, fully wrapped around, high-res scene, you need double, triple, quadruple the number of pixels in your scene. We're supporting now, like, I think in the demo I'll show you now, it's sort of 8K textures, but we can easily go 12K textures on objects and the whole scene together, pre-running our processors, something like 100 gigabytes in size. These are massive, massive files. If you look at something like the Sphere in Vegas, which is the same sort of content, that's like an 18K image that they've wrapped around. So that sort of challenge of not just how do you take something that big and actually get it to run on a phone, but the creation process of that sort of content is kind of the other half of the pipeline that we're working on. One thing that's cool, over a lot of other ideas that I've seen out there's people that are using splats and nerfs to make skyboxes or 360 images and things, but they're all 2D images. We're coming at this as like true 6DoF type scenes that you can move in and out. And something that we're doing that I think is going to be a big step ahead, we're about a month away from. The Apple system environments are kind of amazing, but they're pretty static. There's not much going on. You might see some clouds move, you might see some raindrops, that's about all, but we support like fully animated scenes. So you could, in this example, you could not just have the sky, you could have sandworms running across the background. You could do something literally like at the Sphere with like full animation, like animated anime content all around you. You could invest in the Avengers coming down and interacting with you. So it gets way beyond just these static scenes. And of course, it's not just native GPU. We have a WebXR version as well. So you can distribute this stuff just via a link. It's about a 10 to 20 meg download, over the web, and you get basically as high a quality as your device can support. I think on the Vision Pro now it's about 2.5K per eye, and other headsets are, the Quest is 2K per eye, but it still looks about as good as it's possible to look on the hardware that you've got, which is kind of exciting for us and a nice little breakthrough. And obviously it runs flat out, like 90 frames per second, no jitter. Still headroom to build. If you want to composite a scene like this into Unity or into Unreal Engine, you can do that, and then build your own interactive gameplay in the foreground. And it runs on the Quest 3 today. So that's my last slide. I'd love to cut over to the live demo that we've got kind of running now. I'm not sure. This is it. This is what it looks like as of last night. And you get a sense of looks like a video. We lose a little bit of quality on this projector, but you can see it on my iPad, and I can share a test flight link with you to try it on a Vision Pro. And the cool thing about this is it is a fully live, 6DoF scene. How do we? I'm trying to get the dragging in and out. Okay, so here's some translation, rotation. You're seeing some parallax here of what's going on, and there's no interactivity in it yet, but you can kind of see that level of quality and that level of fidelity in it. And there's a bunch of people that I've shown it to and just let it sort of run in the background have actually thought it was a video playing, like a recording, and then as you start interacting with it, realizing that it is actually a interactive environment. So that's it for the talk. That's kind of what we've got. I would love if you follow me on Twitter. You can just get my name. I'm the only Matt Miesnieks on Earth, but I will post a link there, or you can contact me and I'll give you a link to our test flight. Next week we'll put the WebXR Web GPU link out, and you can test that as well. And from a if you're interested customer, the bar is, if you're working on quality, like content that is 3D and is kind of 8K and above, come and talk to us. And you've got 7-figure budgets, come and talk to us. If you're looking at 4K content, sort of video game content, you're happy working with Unreal and Unity, we're not the people to work with. Stick with those game engines. They're still the simpler tools. But to get to this demo that I was showing you, we're really as far as we know, we're the only people kind of working on this stuff right now, in public. So we'd love to. I'm still learning about the market. We're learning about what sort of projects people are working on. To give you a sense, it's obviously OEMs that want to compete with Apple or with their similar displays. It's visual effects studios that are working on how do we take our feature films and turn them into like immersive experiences. There's some like very high-end game studios that are interested in sort of having photoreal backdrops for their games, and even some of the folks working on stuff for the Sphere are going, look, how do we take it from that one venue and put it into all these new headsets coming out? So they're the sort of projects that we're starting to talk to, and we'd love to have that conversation. So thank you. I'll pause. I'm happy to take questions, talk about anything we're doing except how we did it. All right?
Thanks, Matt. Check. Thanks, Matt. So we have time for probably 1, maybe 2 questions, depending on how complex the question. Yeah.
Hey, Matt. I'm going to start calling you Matt Miesnieks. That's it.
Yeah,
that's going to stick. What about audio? You didn't mention audio at all.
Yeah, there's no audio in our demo yet. This is running the demo's not up, but that little demo I was showing is running in a little proprietary viewer app that we built. We haven't added support for audio, but we will. If you wanted to take that scene and drop it into Unreal, you can use whatever audio is there. So whether that's just spatial or audio background, it's just a feature we have to build. But we knew that audio is audio. We're not doing anything special from audio-wise. We wanted to make that visual experience work first. So it's just we're 4 people in a 4-month-old company. Yeah.
Great, good to see you, Matt. I was curious, are you making this technology available to external developers, or are you just using this as an in-house tool that third party?
Yeah. Today, it's pretty raw, our pipeline, and there's still a bit of like manual poking and prodding to get from the art to to it running. So we're working closely. It's not like something here, go to our website and you can upload your asset and we'll give you something back. We want to get to that, but I guess it's probably about a year away before it's there. I'd love it to not be the case, but what we find is these projects, they're so big and they usually got some sort of custom, either a little bit of custom animation or they got some way that they do lighting that's peculiar to them, or they want to use this file format or that file format, or they use USD differently. And so all of them kind of, we're having to figure out exactly that data ingestion piece isn't standard by any means.